I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Sentimental Men podcast.
Visit vpn.fm to discover more.
Cynthia Erivo, thank you so much for joining us on Sentimental Men today.
Oh, it feels good to say.
This is such a moment. During the midst of like the craziest moment of the Wicked press tour.
Yeah. It's actually nuts. We leave for Australia in three or 4 days.
Is that the first premiere?
That's the first premiere, yeah.
Gotcha.
Oof.
And then you're just traveling the world.
Yes.
How are you feeling in this moment?
I'm feeling really excited. I thought I would be more tired than I am. I'm not. So I feel like I'm sort of ready to get going. I say that now. Speaks to me in 2 days. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be really special.
Okay, so we start every interview with how did Wicked the musical come into your life as just a person?
Wicked the musical came into my life when I was about 20 years old at drama school. I was sort of like the odd one out at drama school. I always felt sort of different. And a friend of mine, or someone who became a friend, his name is Michael Pivoy, and he could play piano and I could sing. And he spotted me and was like, "Hey, do you want to sing some stuff?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure." So he picked up a couple librettos, and one of those librettos happened to be Wicked. So we went to a little room with a piano and we kept playing the music, and I learnt the music before I saw the show.
And what were you singing?
Oh, the front to back.
Wow.
So we were singing everything. So when I say I knew the music, I learnt the libretto. We just went through day by day and went back and went all the way through it often. So I knew everything. I think his favorite song, I want to say his favorite song was it The Wizard and I think he kept asking me to sing that one, but we sung it all. It was a toss-up between that and Dreamgirls. That's what we... and then when I was 25, I took myself on a solo date to see the musical in London, and that's history. So then 10 years later...
Do you remember who you saw in London as Elphaba and Glinda?
I don't. And I think I went to see the show, not just to see the show, but also because I think a friend of mine was running the sound desk during that, but I can't remember who it was I saw.
Talk to us about that first experience seeing it.
I immediately took to Elphaba because I understood what it was like to just sort of like be like different or not fitting in. And I know something went off in my brain, and I never forgot that moment. It was sort of one of those moments that sort of stuck with me. I said before that it felt like I floated home because I couldn't get the feeling out of my head. I couldn't get it out of my body. I remember loving it. I sat in the dress circle, what you would call not the balcony, but like the
mezzanine.
The mezzanine.
Yeah.
Where the flying monkeys come into the audience.
Yeah.
And I felt like a kid. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? It was one of the most wonderful experiences because I felt like there was something I had recognized on a stage, and it was something that I wanted to be a part of. Yeah.
At that point, like when you're learning this music in drama school with your friend and you're seeing the show, are you identifying this as like, this is something I want to do in my career? You know, as an actress, I want to be in this show. I want to play this part.
I didn't know if it was playing the part, but I knew I loved the music. So I think the grander scheme of musical was something I knew that I wanted to be a part of my career for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, I was like, oh, I like that part. There's something about that part that feels good, that feels right. Yeah.
So then as you started building your stage career, did the opportunity to play it on stage ever come up in those years?
Mm-mm.
Really?
Never. Mm-mm.
Especially with the voice you have.
No.
I mean,
it never came up. Yeah. Well, we now know there's a reason why it didn't.
Yes, everything for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then how did it come up? How did it come up to you the first time?
With this film, I knew that they were seeing people for the film, and I told my team to not say anything to me at all. I don't want to know. Don't tell me anything unless it looks like it might come my way. Other than that, I was just like, I don't want to know it. Don't tell me about it. Because I think a part of me was like, if I just ignore what's happening and it doesn't come my way, I won't feel that hurt by it. Because I think deep down, I knew that I would love to have been a part of it. So I was like, if I'm not connected, if I don't know anything about it, then I can go on about my business
Protect
it's
your
just
feelings.
I can protect myself and I'm good. But then I bumped into John at some event and we talked, and then we talked again, and then
Who brought up Wicked?
I think he might have brought up Wicked.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so we're doing this, and I was like, I know. You're directing, great, yeah. And I think we were just sort of like having a discussion about what I felt this person would be and what their story was, and this person meaning Elphaba, and who she was and what she meant to me and what I could possibly bring to it. And I think he just took that into consideration, and then he went away. And I remember we had a conversation. The next conversation we had, so ridiculously bougie. The next conversation we had was, I think, the day of the Met Gala. So the next conversation we had was the Met Gala 2020, 2022 or 2021. And I was in a hotel, and we Zoomed and we just chatted about it. And then I got the call to say they want you to go in. And I think I was the last person they saw.
Right. Like, had you been hearing about other people going in for it at this point?
And I kept telling them, just, I don't care. Don't tell me, please. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And they were like, they might call you in. It looks like they might call you in. I said, well, when they call me in, tell me, please. And when they called me in, it was so respectful, because he called me just to do, it was like a screen test, but it was 3 hours. I was there for 3 hours. I worked with 2 other actresses, scenes, songs, damn near all of them, and I was so ready for it. Because I remember when I got the sides and the music, I trained like a boxer. Yeah. So I ran things. Thank you so much. I ran whilst I was singing. I would pace and like just getting movement into my body so I could be ready to do it when I got there. Learned this, was singing in the shower over and over again, repeating everything over and over again, reading these scenes over and over again, because I just wanted to be, when I got there, I wanted to be so present in it that I wasn't really thinking about which words were coming out of my mouth, which song was coming out. And I remember the day before, I had a concert at Disney Hall. This is the wildness of my life. I had a concert at Disney with the LA Philharmonic and Gustavo Dudamel conducting. And I knew once I finished, I needed to get home very quickly because I was in the next day early to this audition. And I just was so ready to go in and show what I had. Yeah.
Yeah. So take us inside that first audition. What were you doing, and then how were you feeling after the fact?
The first audition I went in with, I was just like, ready. Let's go. Let's do this. I think it was early. We went through the music. Because I think I got there and I was on my own for a little bit before the first actress showed up. And we sort of practiced with the pianist who was there that day. It was very lovely. I remember that. He was very sweet and like warm. And he played beautifully as well, which is sometimes very rare at an audition. Like there was no rush. It was like, let's play all the incidentals. We're going to do all of that, you know? And I remember thinking, oh, this is nice. Oh, I can sing with this. This is good. So I went through the music with him, and then the first actress comes in, and then we start going through the scene work. And I remember feeling really present for all of it. And there was a point where John asked me about my relationship to Wicked and how I'd come to it. And when I went to explain what happened at my drama school, it made me really emotional because I think it was the first time I'd realized that I really did feel out of sorts at drama school. Like I really didn't feel like I fit in that place. And this particular piece was a little space to go to that where I did fit. You know? That's what this piece did for me whilst I was at drama school. And so I think that it dawned on me that that was what was happening at drama school, and to come around to it at this point, to do it this way, just felt really massive. Yeah.
So how long was your audition process in all?
That day, 3 hours.
That was it?
That was it.
One and done.
One and done.
Wow.
And to be clear, Ariana was not either of those chemistry reads.
She was not, no.
When did you get the call after that first audition?
I want to say it was about 2 or 3 weeks after.
Wow, that's fascinating. Because I think Ariana told us about she had a 3-month process.
She went in 4 or 5 times.
Wow. And so what were those 2-3 weeks like? After it was like, I don't want to hear about it. I want to hear about it.
It was hellish. It was like, when are we finding out, for God's sakes? Please. When are we finding out? And I was in the middle of, what was I doing? I think I was doing Luther at that point. So I was in London, like just waiting and biding my time and figuring it out and working. It's just the anticipation of like, what is happening? Is it happening? Is it not happening? Have I got it? Have I not got it? What's going on? I think John did both of us a favor. I think John did the wonderful thing of allowing Ariana to deconstruct the thing that has been built, the person who's been built, so that she could just be in the room. And I think he did me the service of giving me the chance to lose it. It was mine to lose, I think, the way he had set it up. So when he brought me in, I had all the tools I needed and I had the time I needed to be as ready as I possibly could be. And so it was sort of like, take it and run or leave it.
Sounds like you felt very safe in that room.
I did. No, I really did.
So then you get the call. What is the first thought that comes into your head?
I have to tell you how the call happens, though, because my team, they're dramatic, just dramatic, ridiculous and dramatic. I get an email that says, Cynthia, we've got this piece of IP and we think it could be really good for your production company, and you and Salome, who's my production partner, I think we need to jump on a call at some point. And then I get a text from my agent. Actually, you know what, Cynthia? I think we should jump on a call like right now, because now it's gonna go. And I know it's late there, but it's not so late here. But the also is like ready to go and have a conversation about it. It's 1 a.m. in London.
Oh my gosh.
It's 1 a.m. in London. First of all, why does my team know that I'm going to be awake?
Why is that like an okay thing to ask?
They just know I'm going to be awake at 1 a.m. in the morning, and they're correct because that's how I am. So I read this email. I'm like, okay. And I text back, okay, I'm ready. And I'm in my pajamas. So I'm like, but my pajamas don't look like pajamas. So that's good. We'll keep that on. Let's put a pair of glasses on. Let's go. I'm ready. So I get myself set up on the sofa. And if I just have like the,
right,
waist up, we're good. It's perfect. And I put this computer on. I get a Zoom link. Zoom link comes on. John Chu's name comes up. It's 1 a.m. in the morning, remember? So I go, John Chu. Maybe he knows something about the book. I don't know. Then faces start coming up on the screen. I still don't have it. I'm like, what is this book? I guess there's another book to talk about. Maybe everyone's involved. Who knows?
Like, all right, who's leading this meeting?
Like nothing is connecting. Nothing's connecting. And then John starts to talk about this girl who was at this drama school who felt like she was out of sorts, and she would go to this room and sing the music, and then she walks into this room one day and starts singing about this green girl, and I'm like, and now everything's starting to piece together, and I'm like, don't play with me. Don't play. And he goes, and I don't know what planet you came from, but I think the rest of the world should see more of you. And I was lost it. I lost it. We want you to be our Elphaba. And I don't even think I couldn't be articulate. All I could do was cry. And in that, I have glasses on. I put my head and my arms, the glasses flip up over my head. I just am like, all I could say is thank you very much, because it's sort of like the culmination of a dream that you didn't realize that you even had until you had to be in the situation of wanting the dream.
Yeah.
It was the wildest moment ever. I cannot tell you what happened for the rest of the night.
Right. Like, was there banter on the Zoom after? Did you hang up?
I have no idea. I think we had a little chat. Everything was a blur after that. I don't know who I called after. I think I called my mom. It was 1 a.m. in the morning. I was like, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. I can't call my mom.
Who do I call? Yeah.
What time? How early is it too early to call anyone? Like, what? I don't know if I slept that night.
Did you know who your Glinda was in that call, or did that come later?
I think I found out a little later after that call, like the same day.
Gotcha.
That it was Ari, which did not surprise me one bit. I was not surprised at all. I was deeply relieved because I knew it was going to be handled in the best way possible.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, good. Fabulous. That's what we can do. Yeah. I was like, it was one of the most incredible moments to experience. One of the most surreal things to experience.
So then what was the immediate excitement and also apprehension as you're coming to terms with the fact that you're about to embark on this journey?
The excitement, I don't think either one of us could fathom how big this was. I think we had an idea of the fact that this was big, but I don't think we really let ourselves understand the size of it.
Even seeing what it's doing now, I'm like, wow, this is a thing.
This is a thing.
I love Wicked, and this is a thing.
This is a thing. But every day feels like, oh, this is like a thing. This is a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when you see people running to Target and grabbing Stanley Cups and fighting over Stanley Cups, you're like, oh, this is a thing. And someone, a doll with your face on it.
Yeah, I mean, hello.
Comes to you and someone says, can you sign my doll? And you go, my face is on a doll.
A Mattel Barbie.
I'm a Barbie, guys.
You are a Barbie.
My nose and my lips are on a Barbie. Like, what is happening? None of us could fathom that this would be what it is right now. I went through times. I was driving past Times Square, and there's the most ridiculously huge billboard combined with a huge moving billboard and a poster of the both of us. And then I've never seen myself that big in my life. Like, what is that? It's insane.
Yeah.
The whole thing is insane. Neither one of us could possibly have fathomed that was what was going to happen. But I think what we did know intrinsically was how special this thing was. We were both really clear on the fact that we wanted to not just do a good job, but really take care of this. Like, take as much care of this as we possibly could. And to do that, we did the opposite of fanfare. We sort of like went, right, zero in. How do we do this? Where do we begin? What do we need? And that's how we've done this from the beginning. She and I knew we needed to come together first without everybody. So she came to my house and we sat and we chatted. We just we got to know each other. And then we went to John's house and it was him, Winnie, Stephen Aramis, Stephen Schwartz, myself, and Ari. And we just sort of, I think, did Johnny come? I want to say maybe Johnny came.
And how does a conversation even get kicked off with that group? Where do you start?
John is really good at giving good speeches. John is very good at opening the floor.
Gotcha.
It's his it's secret talent that he has. So he's like, so I wanted to welcome everyone. I know we're about to go on this big journey. And he has like a table laid out of like our costume, like,
Oh, wow.
because he'd been working with Paul. So Paul has like some examples of what the costumes might be like. And he has sweet man. He got little trays, like little yellow brick roads for us, like model yellow brick roads for each of us. So we have that, and each one of us signed it. So we have this, I have mine put on a tray, and like I've kept that. And so we have it, he opens the floor up that way. And then at some point in the day, we have a dinner together. So we all sit, we break bread together. And then in the evening, Ari and I sing with Stephen Schwartz. And that's the first time we sing together. And the first time we sing together, we sing for good.
And you've worked with Stephen before?
This is my first time working with Stephen.
Oh, really? Okay.
My first time working with Stephen is my first time singing with Ari.
Gotcha. A moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big day. Big day. The big day. But it was wonderful. And I think that moment for Ari and I was really special because it was the first time we had heard our voices together.
Mm-hmm.
And we quickly realized that it works.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more wonderful than realizing that your voice works with someone else's. It is really special, especially if this is the first time you've sung together.
Right.
We had not practiced. We had not sung this before. It just worked.
Yeah. Were there tears?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have tears.
Yes, there were tears. Yes, there were tears. We were both speechless. We didn't know what to say. It's because it's an emotional thing to be able to, an emotional and vulnerable thing to have to sing with someone when you've not sung with them before. You really do have to open yourself up to that person and allow yourself to hear them, and you allow yourself to be heard, to combine your voices the way that happened. And we did it immediately. And that was really special. I think that moved us both. It was sort of like an indication of what the rest of this was going to be like. If we could do that without having done this before, if we could do that with no practice, if we could do that in front of a room of people, with nothing, no makeup, nothing, then we could really do this.
Yeah. You know, you and Ariana have both talked about this pact you made at the beginning of the process to protect and take care of each other. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like day to day as you go through this journey?
Day to day, it's sort of allowing, we're making decisions together, always making decisions together, always moving together. So it's never, I'm never over there and she's over here. We're always like in tandem. And we were always looking out for each other as well. So if, say for instance, if there's a particular scene that needs a little quiet, or I need a little bit of privacy or time, and it doesn't feel like that, she would take on the task of going, hey, she needs quiet. Or if Ari is in a particular scene, because we both need different things to make the moment. We both need different things to get us where we need to be. Ari needs contact when there's emotion. So she needs to be close. So I just be there with her for a second. And sometimes I need to be like alone to find myself in it. And she would give me the space. Or if we're working on something and both of us need a break and it feels like it's running away from us, both of us make the agreement, should we ask, I think we should take a break, but should we ask? Then we ask together, hey, both of us would really love a break if that's possible, you know? Sort of taking the responsibility to work in the atmosphere together.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of it. And also just like being comfortable, having conversations, because we built this relationship not just for Wicked, but for outside, for us as two human beings outside of this film, but as like two women together. So that means opening yourself up to conversations that might have to come up, things that, you know, if I've had a bad day, then I want to have the conversation with her. And it's not necessarily the prettiest conversation, but she's open for me to have that conversation. If she hasn't had a great day and something's going on and she wants to discuss something and figure something out, my phone is on, or if I need to come over, she has to come over, whatever it is, we're always there for each other, not just for the good moments, but for the moments that are a little more complicated, you know?
Yeah.
That means that there's a level of honesty and intimacy that allows for us to actually to make something like this. Because the intimacy is necessary to make something as big as this at least feel connected, you know?
Yeah, and something that I think reads so clearly in your joint performance is like the love story of these two women.
Yeah.
It is a story about these two women learning how to love each other and hearing the ways that you were taking care of each other off stage, or not off stage, not in front of the camera. It all clicks. It's like, well, that is so tangible and permeable on screen.
I mean, it's like a daily, sort of a daily recitative, you know what I mean? We speak to each other every day. If we don't speak to each other every day, we will have texted each other, even if it's just like, hey, have a good day. We'll just, what's going on? I have to do a speech at something, and I was running it and checking it and rewriting, and I wasn't sure about it. So I was like, I've read it to her already. And then I had to go away and rewrite something else. And I sent it to her. It's like, I finished it, but she remembered that I was writing the speech. So she said, hey, I think you're finishing the speech today. Send it to me if you want. Let me have a read I want to hear how it's going. So I sent her the speech. She read it. She was like, that feels good. It feels really genuine. I was like, there's nothing that we need to like change. No, that's really great. I like that. I love this. And picking specific moments. So it's like a true, honest understanding of what I'm doing. And music comes, while she was making her album, I was making my album. So I'm listening to her music. She's been listening to my music. I finally finished mine. I've sent her the music. She's listened to it. She's come back with, this is how we function, you know? So it's true understanding of who we are, what we need. And it's an ongoing back and forth in life in general.
Cynthia, can we talk about the filming of the ozdust scene? Just because Chris Murphy alluded to it in his cover story, and when we were talking to Ariana, there seems to be like some sort, like something feels important about the filming of that scene, and I would love to hear your take on it.
Yeah. So when we started rehearsing it, I think they had a dance choreographed already, and when we did it, I remember thinking, this doesn't feel like her movement. So I was like, can we just start from the beginning and find out how she moves? Just find out what she does. Because I knew that I didn't want it to be her discovering movement for the first time. I knew that I didn't want it to be her learning to dance. I knew that I wanted it to be someone who understands movement, but in a different way. She's learned to move differently. She's had different experiences. She's been raised in a different way, and so hasn't been to dance parties, but understands movement, but her own way. It's very individual to her. So we created something that felt like Elphaba. And then I had questions about, well, why would she put the hat back on? There has to be a reason why she puts this hat back on. And then we sort of decided, well, what if she decides to imbue this thing that when she first saw it, she thought was beautiful. She thought was different and strange like her, could see herself in the hat. So if we take this hat off because of the hurt, there's a choice to put it back on. So what if you fill it with power? What if it really does become an emblem of something that holds power? Maybe this is like the first time she casts something unknowingly, but she does that. And then that dance isn't just a spell to cast, but it's sort of an ownership of space, an ownership of her loneliness, an ownership of her hurt, an ownership of her difference and her separation. And shooting it was just painful, but in the most beautiful way, because she has to be brave enough to do it in front of everybody. She has to be brave enough to say, okay, fine, I'll be on my own. I'll do it by myself. you know? So she takes up this space, which is a brave thing to do anyway, and places herself right in the center of it. And there's a level of vulnerability, insecurity, hurt, pain, love that has to come to the surface when you do that. And when we did it, it was deathly silent. And I think
And what are you as Cynthia bringing to that moment?
I just thought of all of the times where I felt like I was alone. And I thought of all the times where I felt like I didn't feel seen. And I thought of all the times where you don't feel accepted in a crowd and you feel that you stand out, but you don't want to stand out. I just knew that those are the things that would come to the surface for her. And there is a particular kind of pain that comes from feeling like you finally found someone who sees you a little bit, and when it becomes a betrayal, it's just hard.
Yeah.
And I think that final moment where she looks at Glinda is less an accusation, but a why would you do this to me?
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
I always feel like it was like a pleading of like, what did I do to deserve this? You know?
Yeah.
And I think in that moment they really see each other. It's when Glinda sees, oh, that's a human being.
It gets her to snap out of it.
Yeah. And that moment where Glinda dances on her own and tries to do this dance, I always think is the most vulnerable moment of like asking for forgiveness and wanting to connect. And the first time Elphaba she says, follow me. And she puts her hands and waits. That's okay, should we start again? And that's when they start to discover each other. And Ari always wanted whenever we would do the dance together, she would try to forget it. She didn't want to over-rehearse it because she wanted to learn on the spot. So it was like teaching a person this piece, her language, fresh every time. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful. And it's kind of blown up how I view that moment in the movie now.
Yeah.
And we weren't intending it wasn't like the intention to be like, we will not have any laughs at all. I just knew what I wanted to say for her.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to say for her, yeah.
And there's something interesting there too with that take on the moment of Elphaba's ability to feel that betrayal, but then easily choose to forgive quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she wants to be loved as well. And I also think that Elphaba has this wonderful way of seeing past the veneer. She does it with Fiyero. She does it with Dr. Dillerman. She sees. In some people it takes longer than the others, but she does it with the wizard. She does it with Madame Morrible. She sees past things. You know, she sees what she wants to see because she's a hurt being. So with Madame Morrible, she doesn't see soon enough because she feels really accepted. It's someone who wants her for her and is like, oh my gosh, they see me. They think this thing that I have hated my whole life is a talent. It's a talent. I've never been heard. She'd never heard it called a talent before. She was sent away because it scared people, you know? It was the destruction of her for a long time. Now all of a sudden it's the one thing that makes her special.
Yeah.
So I think she's a little bit blind in it. I think she doesn't see Madame Morrible for what she is until it's too late. Well, almost too late. But with everyone else, she kind of gets them. She sees the thin veil and goes past it.
Something that comes up a lot with the actresses we speak to who do the role on stage is obviously how demanding this role is to do. You are the only actress who has done this role on film. So I would love to hear about the just logistics of playing Elphaba on screen.
The logistics of doing Elphaba on screen.
Starting with getting green, I guess. We haven't talked about that yet.
So my mornings, because we would often start early. My mornings would probably start at like 3 a.m. in the morning. I would work out because she is quite physical, and there's lots of flying and there's lots of harness work. So I needed to make sure that my body was ready to take on all of that. But I get ready in the morning. I get in. Depending on when they needed me in the chair, could be 6 o'clock, could be 5 o'clock, depends. And I'd be in the chair for 2 hours and 45 minutes to sometimes 4 hours. When we had full body, it was 4 hours because we would sometimes have audio. So anytime between that amount of time.
And what is the greenifying process?
So greenifying process is we have airbrushing with paint. It's like an alcohol-based paint. We'd have a primer first. They made greens specific to me. So there were greens that had my tone in it. So there's like a highlighter yellow almost in the green airbrushing paint, and there's like a warmer yellow in the primer, so that my skin tone would still come through to a point, so it wouldn't. But the green would match me. We tried a bunch of different greens before we landed, and then this green was made because the first green had pink in it and it was too chalky. So we needed something that was a bit warmer so it would match my skin tone. And what we would do is put in the definition first with a deep, like a dark purple, almost black, my cheekbones and my freckles. I want to say my freckles would go on after. So we had primer, then the definition would go in. So cheekbones and freckles would go on.
Were freckles always a choice from the get-go?
Freckles were a choice immediately. Okay. I was like, I think she should have freckles. I think because there's something about the freckles that makes her really endearing, and it sort of opens up the face. And I thought that was a really cool thing to try. And also it gave me, because I thought about all of the things that we associate with witches. So it's like the wart on the nose or the wart on the chin. And what I loved was that I thought of those things as folklore. So what was originally a beauty spot turned into a wart.
Right.
You know, so you see all these freckles, and then there's one like that just is like on its own, and there's one that's on its own. So when we move further on, you'll see that more freckles appear, but they're in different places.
Interesting.
As is with what would happen when you grow older. And so we would again prime, put in our definition, and the freckles would go on. We made a vacuum form of my face and poked the holes in the freckle where the freckles were, so that the freckles would stay in exactly the same place every single time.
Brilliant.
So that was what we would do. And then the airbrush would go over. Now my head would be airbrushed because when you put the wig on, my scalp also needs to be green.
Right.
So when my hair moves around, you see my scalp through the braids, but it's my scalp that is green, which I loved because it meant that it felt like it's all connected. And the wig itself had tinted green lace. So it wouldn't show. It was like it disappeared on my head. I didn't necessarily need to take out my piercings. Now they weren't earrings like this, but they were all flat studs. So we had prosthetics over my ears. So we do prosthetics to cover up the holes in the piercings. So the ears that you see aren't they're my ears, but they're not. They're covered by a prosthetic.
Right.
But the prosthetic is my color first. So they would actually spray that to be the matching green.
This process.
It's really long. The wig itself was always styled, and we knew that you'll see that there's like a little baby hair, there's like a little curly baby hair that's always in the front of my head. We were very specific about that one kiss curl, that tiny little baby curl that was always in it. Sometimes it's facing this way, sometimes it's facing that way, but it's always there. But my wig stylist and wig maker worked together to make sure that the hair would change as we go along. So in the beginning, it's sort of inner side braid, tight together. And you'll notice as we go through, it gets looser and looser. So then it goes to, we have the rolls. And that, when we get after the ozdust and she's been Galindified, I asked for them to give me a hairstyle that was Galinda adjacent, which is why you get that sort of like...
Right.
And hair down. And then when Fiera walks by and says, you don't have to do that, that roll becomes this. So it's like a proper Victoria roll. And then the rest is just like that. So she starts to find herself stylistically as we move through the piece. And that was something I knew I wanted to do, grow her as we went along. And the braids get a little longer and they get a little freer, they get a little wavier, so there's more movement in it.
You're going to be stunning in the second movie.
Yeah.
The way we're trending.
It's a thing. It's a thing. And it does change. The trajectory of it is like, it's moving towards something that feels freer and wilder, and it's a lot. And I love how we grew it. None of the makeup on my face, except for the definition, is any other color than green.
Oh.
So eyeliner is green. The eyeshadow, green. Lipstick, green.
Right.
Lip liner, green. It's all shades of green. But we found all the different shades of green so that we could find dimension in things. And something I wanted, because I was like, what I want is it all to come from the shades that it's her. So we used loads of different things. We had like a green gel so that the palms of her hands were green, but they still look like palms.
Right.
So they're not the same as the back of her hand. They're very much like, how your palms are lighter than the rest of you.
Yeah.
The green is slightly lighter and slightly translucent. So my skin tone comes through, but it's still green. We
keep it coming.
I love being involved in all of this. So I would do my lips and I would get in my eyes and stuff. So they would leave like my lips I would always do myself because I love to be involved in like the shading of it and making that happen. I would always do my eyeliner. Nails were a big part of this. I took the inspiration originally from the picture of Margaret Hamilton, which is to the side.
Yes.
When I went to, I've seen the picture many times, and then I went back to the picture and I thought, what am I seeing? So I saw a couple of the film and I realized, well, she has nails. She has a set of nails and they're really long, very long.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, where does that come from? That can't just like come out of nowhere. So what do we do to make it feel like it's part of the DNA of her and it's just different enough for us to think, well, this isn't just like a full set of nails. It's just how her DNA does something to the way things grow. So she has nails. And so we went through a set of different ideas of what the nails could look like. And then we settled on the idea that it's just an extension of the green. So the first time you see her nails, they're sort of jade-esque. They're like an ombre green that get lighter towards the tip. And when she goes to the Emerald City, it changes because she gets there. We see them get their nails done.
Right.
And then they become darker on purpose because we're moving in that direction. And that is also something that progresses.
to full. Yeah,
something
yeah.
to lock away for two. Yes. And then John and I had a conversation about how far do we want to take the green? How deeply into her DNA do we want it to be? And I was like, what if we changed my eye color so that it feels like there's just one more thing that removes her a little bit? And so we went on a search for the right eye color. There were these green lenses that were really pretty. There were a pair of hazel eye lenses that were cool. We had some lenses painted.
Wow.
One with like blue like a blue iris, but like a hazel around it, and the one was with a green. And we tried them all, and some of them felt too far away, and you couldn't see through. Yeah, you can't see through to me. And he was like, it kind of cuts the audience off. It cuts us off, and we want to see your emotion. And the hazel didn't transform enough. So we landed back on the green because for some reason that green both let us in and held us at a little bit of a distance. So there's something different about her, but also you can come in.
You almost forget you're green watching the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of wanted that. I kind of wanted it to feel like, oh, she's been in this skin her whole life. She sees this every day. This is
not novel to her.
No.
Yeah.
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 What is the degreening process every day?
An hour and a half long.
You're doing this every day?
Every day. Most of the time, I would be the last person on set because I was still taking everything off.
Oh my God.
I couldn't go home with any of it. And if I went home with it, I couldn't take it off myself. So there's like a particular like oil or balm that takes all the green off. And we would have full skincare, the whole lot. And then I would go back because you would inevitably be left with like a sheen of green. So when I would get back home, I would then do another wash to get it all off.
Did you have any skin issues through this process?
No, my skin was the best it's ever been in my life.
Wow.
Insane. I don't know how that happened.
Now that we are green.
Now that we're green, we then go into costume. And the costume was layers of things.
Right.
So it's like we've got sometimes if we were under if I had like most of my sleeves were kind of like sheer and see-through, so you could see my arms. And the problem with that is that if it's underneath and it's rubbing on things, then the makeup comes off. So we created like a netted top that went under everything that sort of stopped here where my makeup would stop if my arms were covered. And so it was the perfect match of green to the rest of me. So you have that. And then if we have tights on, we would have one pair of the green tights that match everything. So there's like a body tight, the whole thing. Before my which I love, my fishnets,
Yes.
the pattern fishnets that came on. So we have those. And then I'm corseted all the time.
Real corset?
No, a real corset.
Okay.
Pulled corset before the shirt and before the dress or whichever costume went on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the vibes for the day. And then if we're flying that day, so we had loads of different copies of things. We needed a copy of the costumes with pit points, and pit points are basically costumes made with holes where the joins can come through, so that when I put my harness on, they can also hook me to the wires.
Right.
Yeah, take us into Defying Gravity. You're shooting Defying Gravity today.
So I'm shooting Defying Gravity. We have first of all, because we're moving through so much, my dresses had to be fit often. So we needed a dress that fit me, but we also needed space for my harness. There are, I think, 2 or 3 different harnesses for different stunts. The standard flying up and down, easy, is the most sort of like easygoing harness.
And were you doing all your stunt work?
Yes.
Okay.
And these harnesses, I still have my corset on, I still have my costume on, all of that, and then we put the harness on top of that.
Right.
And those need to be pretty snug because you're flying. There's nothing, flying, which I found deeply thrilling. But those days were really interesting because once you're in the harness, you don't want to come out of the harness because it takes forever to get everything prepped again and wires and whatnot. So those days can be really big. They can be really exhausting because your body's being put through the strangest things.
And you're holding your bladder while you're flying around?
I don't go to the bathroom. Once I'm in my costume, and this is probably a terrible idea, but once I'm in that costume and the harness is on, I'm not doing it. I'm just not playing. I'm not dealing with it. There's too many layers. I'm not dealing with it. I'm not going to the bathroom. It is what it is.
Okay.
Are we in the costume at 7 a.m. in the morning, 8 a.m. in the morning? Great. We'll be in it for the next 14, 12 hours. Good luck.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll see you there. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So that's what I would do. I would figure it out. And I'm not. And everyone would be like, do you need the bathroom? No, I don't need the bathroom.
Let's go again.
I don't need it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're in it. Let's go. And that's what would happen. And we would do these. I loved flying, but it was, the only time you would change the harness is when you would need to change into a different, where you're doing a different stunt. And those days can just be really exhausting. Your body goes through a lot because what happens when you're flying is that if you have to do something there's a moment where I do that loop comes round. That is not the wires doing the loop. The wires are taking me from A to B.
Right.
I have to get my body over. So you're figuring out where to place the weight, and sometimes it goes horribly wrong and the legs flop behind you and you're just like, I don't know how to do this. And you realize, I have to put tension in my hips and my legs as I bring it round behind me in order to fly in straight. So you just have to learn the aerodynamics of where things go.
I'm like, who else could have played this part? This could only be you.
Yeah.
Well, he decided that he wanted Defying Gravity to feel like a combination of all of the iconic superhero moves that you've seen. So there's that one where I whip round across the screen, and that's Spider-Man. And then there's the spin up, which is Wonder Woman. And then there's the loop, which is Superman. All of those things he'd sort of put together. And that was that was the nature of the beast, figuring out how to do it all together and figuring out what the dynamics would be. And that was a long shooting process because we started Defying Gravity, maybe, I want to say we did it in April, and didn't finish until January this year because of the writers and actors strike.
Right.
Well, it is such a long sequence in the movie. It's very much built out.
Yes.
Which actually, how did that unlimited section, what was the thought process behind adding that into the song?
What was his thought process or my thought process into the song?
Either.
I think he wanted a moment for Elphaba. He didn't want people to believe that Elphaba was going to do it immediately. He wanted people to root for her. And I guess he wanted us to see, and I loved the idea of her having to figure it out. This woman doesn't know how to fly yet. She doesn't realize that she can. She has to take the leap. And when she takes the leap, she has no idea if it's going to end terribly or if she's going to indeed fly. So he wanted to give her a reason for finding her flight. And that reason is meeting her younger self and going and reaching out to her and going, I've got you.
Each of the screenings I went to, people gasped during that younger child moment.
It's just,
yeah, it takes the breath out of you.
That little girl, she's so sweet, so lovely. And I loved seeing her little face and just the wonder in it. I remember when I first met her, I met her when I was in the makeup. She was so sort of, oh my gosh, just enamored. And whenever we could have some time together, if our paths crossed, which was not a lot, but we got a little time to be in the same space together. I remember we were shooting a scene and she hadn't seen me fly yet. So I asked if she wanted to see me fly. And she was like, yeah, I want to see you fly. So they bring her in by the monitor, and it's just like a descent in. So this is one of those, I like the flight, the taking off and the descending, because it was like really nice. We found out like what the language was and like how does she land. And you'll see more of that. That's coming.
Did you get hurt at all through any of this?
Only chafing. And chafing sounds funny until you actually have it. I mean, like my skin on my hips was burnt.
Oh.
Ooh. And it was like, it took so long to heal. It just took forever. You get bruised, you get like, I think, well, maybe I did get hurt and I just can't remember. Like, I'm sure like, I definitely had a bleeding, like a bloody nose at one point. Like, I don't know what happened. Can't tell you. Like broken nails.
Because even like landing on your knees and whatnot.
I was fine with the landings and the fall. Like I was totally fine. Flying was like, that felt wonderful. You figure it out. And the only thing was like what the harness does to you after a long period of time. Because you are in it for hours and hours and you are up.
Right. It's pulling on your skin. Yeah.
Sometimes it's pulling outwards. So the tension is in a weird space and you've got to figure out how to hold yourself. But otherwise it's lovely. I really enjoyed what it felt like to fly. And Karis came in one day and they took her by the monitor because she wanted to see me fly. And as I'm flying in, I hear this little voice go, whoa.
Oh.
And I kid you not. You know when you have those moments of, oh, that's why I'm doing it.
Yes.
That was one of those moments of like, that's why I'm doing it. Because that little girl believes I'm flying. She has seen me be taken up in these wires, and it doesn't matter. She believes I am flying. And on top of which, she knows that she's playing the little version of this, which is awesome.
Okay, so hearing all that goes into playing Elphaba on the film,
yeah.
what would you say was the most challenging aspect of it for you personally?
I mean, it's all very challenging because nothing. What I used to say to Ari, nothing is a small day. Everything is a big day. Everything.
None of what you just said sounds easy.
No day was like a small, okay, no day was that. Every day was like something. I'm not that girl. Okay, that's a big day because it's like me on my own and we're in forest and it's like
right.
All of these elements coming together. And, is it the Wizard and I? That's not a small day. It's like and just because of the way he saw what this was to be, you'll notice that she starts at the bottom of the school and ends at the very top of a mountain.
Oh.
So he makes her ascend literally,
and then sprint,
but she never flies. And then exactly,
yeah.
And then she's like on it, but she doesn't go over.
Uh-huh.
Right.
She doesn't take the leap.
Right up to the precipice of it.
That's not a small day. None of it. I think it was sort of. I think maybe the hardest thing for me was to not look at everything as one big task, but to try to compartmentalize the moments that we were having to make, because they all mean something. They're all big moments and they all require a lot of us. Emotionally, I mean, the ozdust was really hard emotionally, but then sitting down and talking about how her father hates her and then looking in the mirror and being told that she's beautiful, like that was an emotional moment. And having to like, how do we vacillate so we don't tip so far into it that we can't come back, because when we're in, we're like, how do we manage and measure how much she lets herself go and when, because she's sort of like reverberating with like hurt and pain. It's like it's there. So she doesn't necessarily live in it because it's sort of like literally in her skin. Like it's on her. It's always like at the surface. So it's about how much do we give and how much do we hold. And I think that was one of the things that I had to like figure out. And like her rhythm, she doesn't have the same rhythm as me. She doesn't sound like me. You know, so it's like managing what that is. She's a little drier. It takes her time a little bit more, you know.
We've been talking about what we love so much about your take on the role is she's not angry at the world. Like she accepts that this is how she's viewed and she's like made peace with that. She's not holding it against anyone.
Yeah.
That's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a really special twist.
But I think that came naturally because I believed that she's, for someone who's been in this, she's been in the skin forever. It is not a surprise to her when someone is like, ugh, that doesn't surprise. Does it hurt? Yes. Is it surprising? No. It's something this is an everyday for her. So you can't be mad at the world if the world just is what it is. You know, it's something she's experienced her whole life. And I think that she's also experienced, you know, aspects like love, whether it be from Dulcibert or her sister. And she does love her sister and she does love Dulcibert. And I think to a degree she loves her father and wants love back. But if I just thought if she's mad at the world the entire time, how would she function? How do you function past that? And also there has to be, you need room. I want to get to rage because she does get to rage. But if we start there, we have nowhere to go. I wanted her to start with a little bit of hope. I want whoever's watching to think, oh, there's hope. It might not go as bad as it might not go bad. She might connect. There might be connection. And she does connect. Because if she was mad at the world, her and Fiero would not even, it wouldn't happen. They wouldn't cross paths. She wouldn't even give him the time of day. He wouldn't give her the time of day. They wouldn't connect at all. And somehow they connect. And she can't be mad at the world if she cares deeply about these animals. There has to be love there. She has to have an inkling of things can be better. And I can be a person who can make things better. I can be someone who if from my experiences, if I know what it's like to be an outsider, maybe I can change that for someone else. But you can't be mad at the world and do that. You can be frustrated. You can be moved by it. But if you're mad at it, if you're angry at it all the time, you can't, how can you get past that?
Okay, we have to let you go, but there are a couple more things we want to touch on.
Yeah.
We talk about having Idina and Kristin on set because there is a really beautiful torch passing moment in the movie. What was the behind the scenes of that?
Oh, that was the most, it was silly o'clock in the morning. And when that moment happens, it's like the sun was coming up and it was like I think it was like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and we'd been going all night. It was so emotional. We both were we were all really emotional to be in the space with these two women who essentially this was like a love story to them as well, to the work that they had put in all those years ago. And still they found the space and time to come back to this.
I imagine being the two of them and then being on set of this major motion picture for this job they did 20 years ago.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. I can't imagine what they were feeling, but I know that what we received from them was really loving. And what we've received from them since has been really, really caring and loving and kind. And I'm never going to forget having Idina Menzel fix my hat and send me off in this film. I will never forget it because it is one of those, it was one of those moments where the architect says, I built the building, please.
It's beautiful.
And she's been so, and cannot say enough how kind and loving she's been. The words that she has sent, the things she has said, the opportunities she has taken to buoy me, to encourage, beyond. She saw the film and the words that she sent my way. I play them to myself often. Just put it that way. Because they were so kind. And that moment, you have to know I had no idea she was going to say that at the Tonys.
Oh, really?
I had no idea. She just said she wanted to say something before we started that scripted thing. I said, you can say whatever you want. You say whatever you want, please. And then that's what she said, which is why, when you look back, I look like a kid. I have no idea what to say. I shoulder bump her and go, I love you.
It's so cute.
That's all I can say. I had no idea she was going to say that. I had no idea. And she didn't have to. To hand off the broom, so to speak, in such a public way, was like, whoa, this is like, now I have a responsibility to make you proud as well. I really do actually want to make you proud. Seriously. I hope that when you watch this, it makes you proud too. And that was, these moments have been really meaningful. And Kristin has been so lovely. I get random video messages from her, just being so kind and sweet and loving. It's just there's nothing else I can ask for. These are the two.
Yeah. And I'm so happy they're able to be a part of this movie.
Well, the two of us were not going to have it any other way. Ari and I were really, this is the thing that we were like, if we're going to fight for anything, it's this. When are they coming?
Yeah.
When are they coming?
Ariana told us about
your be in it?
Wizard Will See You Now line story, calling John.
Yes.
It's that's the united front.
That's it. What are we doing? Have we done it yet? Did we get them yet? Every day. So when are they coming in? Do we know what they're doing?
Was it they were going to have a cameo from the get-go, or did you have to push for that?
I think they were considering, but they then had no choice because we wouldn't let it go.
Gotcha.
When are they coming? When are they coming? Are they going to be here today or tomorrow?
So wait, which came first, them or that new section of One Short Day? Did they come on board and then that was written for them?
I wonder.
Feels like that must have been written for them.
I think it was written for them, but they hadn't cemented it, and we were like, cement it.
Hollywood Walk of Fame, cement it.
We need the pavement. The sidewalk needs to be set now.
Oh my goodness. All right. I think it's time to ask.
Yes.
Are you a wizard and I?
I know this question.
Are you a wizard and I, defying gravity, or no giddiest Elphaba? It can mean whatever you want it to mean. All we ask is that you explain why.
Because I knew I'd be asked the question. And this isn't a cop-out by any means, but it is because of the experience of this. And I'm all of them. Because the wizard and I is hope. Defying gravity is a proclamation of oneself and exceeding everyone else's expectations and your own. And no good deed is the ownership of your rage and pain. And I can be any one of those on any given day, and have been.
And need to have all of those within you.
And need to have all of those within me. I'm not ashamed of hurt and anger and pain. It has taken a long time to get to where I am. And that feels many times like I've had to fly above the expectations of even myself. And the wizard and I is something that is a hope and a bright light that feels like it has to run through everything. You have to believe that anything is possible all the time. And if I didn't believe that anything was if I didn't believe that anything is possible, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about this.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We had our money on you saying, I'm not that girl.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not that girl. I love that song so much because what I love about it is that she knows that she's so different and she might not ever be the girl that gets picked, but that's okay. And I love that because it's so true many times. For me, it's really true often. You're like, and I'm okay with being the one that isn't the one that gets picked all the time. Because when I am picked,
look what happens.
I'm meant to be.
And what you do with that song in the movie is so singular and inspired. It really floored me.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to wrap with a quick rapid fire about you can answer with your castmates.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to take turns.
Okay.
We did this with Ariana and it was
Okay.
crazy.
Chaotic and crazy. Yes.
All right. Most likely to be first to set.
Ariana.
Most likely to be the last one to leave set.
Cynthia.
Okay.
Or Ariana, because she liked to hang around, but it would be me often.
Most likely to option up during a song.
Both of us.
Most likely to take a keepsake from set.
Ariana.
Most likely to stay in character after the camera stops rolling.
I think Ariana, but by default, me. I don't realize I'm still there, but I am.
Yeah.
Most likely to break character.
Ariana.
That's interesting.
Or Bowen. Bowen would.
Most likely to get the shot in one take.
Michelle Yeoh.
Okay. And the last one, most likely to cry on set.
Both of us.
Ariana did be like, is this a bit? The answer is me for every question.
We cried a lot. She cried immediately, and I would be like, we have things to do, but then it would come. I would resist for a little bit, and then it would all fall to pieces.
Yeah.
And then what we're supposed to do? That set we had tissues all over the place. It would be the first AD crying, John's crying, I'm crying.
She did say you all were a little lost in the sauce and that kind of everyone was staying in character.
Oh my God, it was crazy. I finished singing I'm Not That Girl, and Jonathan Bailey was crying, and I turn around, my first AD's crying. I'm like, we're never going to get through this. We're not going to get through this. You understand? It's hard enough here to do this without falling apart. We're not going to get through this, guys. You understand?
But how good
We
to
can't
know
do this every day.
that everyone cared so much about creating this
We
movie.
really did. I can't even... listen, that us doing Defying Gravity, that scene where she says, you're trembling, I have to... Let me get something for you. A mess.
The room.
Everyone. A mess. A mess.
Us two in the theater.
Like, how are we supposed to... I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, we're supposed to say goodbye at this point. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
A mess. Defying Gravity, the last moment before I fly up in the air, that was her last shot in the film.
Oh, God.
So that was my second to last shot in the film. Good luck, everyone. Godspeed.
Good luck.
Godspeed.
Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us. My heart is so full after this conversation. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Mine too.
Thank you very much. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm so glad I got to do this with
Oh,
you.
this is so exciting.
Us too.